My name is Zora. I am 20 years old. I have lived my whole life in a small village in Afghanistan. The mountains around our village are tall and beautiful. My family has always been kind to me. I thought my life would be simple and happy. I spent my childhood playing with other girls in the village. We would climb trees and run through the fields. Sometimes we would help our mothers with cooking and cleaning. The days were long but peaceful. I learned to read a little from my grandmother. She told me stories about brave women from long ago. When I turned 18, my parents started talking about marriage. They said it was time for me to have a family of my own. I felt scared, but also excited about this new chapter. Marriage seemed like the next step in life. All the girls in our village got married around this age. I trusted my parents to choose well for me. My father spoke with a family from the neighboring village. They had a son who was looking for a wife. The families met several times to discuss the arrangement. I only saw him once from a distance. He seemed quiet and serious. My mother said this was a good sign. The engagement ceremony was small but beautiful. I wore my grandmother's old dress with silver coins sewn on it. The women sang traditional songs and danced. Everyone seemed happy about the match. I felt hopeful that this man would be kind to me. The wedding was planned for 2 months later. During those 2 months, I prepared for married life. My mother taught me new recipes and household skills. The other women gave me advice about being a good wife. I embroidered cloths and prepared my dowry. Every day brought me closer to leaving my childhood home. I was both nervous and excited. The wedding day finally arrived in spring. I wore a red dress that my aunt had made for me. Flowers were braided into my hair with ribbons. The celebration lasted all day with music and dancing. Many people from both villages came to wish us well. I felt like a princess in a fairy tale. As evening came, the women prepared me for the wedding night. They gave me a white cloth and explained what would happen. I knew about the tradition of showing proof afterward. This was normal in our culture, and I did not worry. I trusted that everything would be fine. The older women smiled and said I looked beautiful. I was taken to my new husband's house that night. The room was decorated with flowers and candles. He came to me quietly and spoke in gentle words. We both felt shy and nervous together. The moments passed slowly as we got to know each other. Everything seemed peaceful and right. But when morning came, our world changed completely. He looked at the white cloth with confusion and anger. There was no sign of what everyone expected to see. His face became dark and frightening. I tried to explain, but he would not listen to me. My heart began to race with fear. I remembered falling from a tree when I was 12 years old. The fall had hurt me badly inside. My grandmother had taken care of me for many days. The village doctor said I would heal completely. But now I realized something had been damaged forever. This childhood accident was destroying my future. He called his mother and father into the room immediately. They all stared at the cloth with angry faces. his mother began to shout terrible words at me. She called me names that made me feel ashamed. His father looked at me with disgust and disappointment. I felt like I was drowning in their anger. I tried to tell them about my childhood accident. I explained how I had fallen and been hurt. I begged them to understand that I was innocent, but they would not believe my words. They said I was lying to cover my shame. Their voices grew louder and more frightening. My new mother-in-law slapped me across the face hard. The pain was sharp and burning on my cheek. She said I had brought dishonor to their family. My husband stood there watching without protecting me. I realized he would never defend me from them. I was completely alone in this house. They locked me in a small room for 3 days. No one brought me food or water regularly. I could hear them arguing loudly outside the door. Sometimes they would come in to shout at me more. I cried until I had no tears left. My body felt weak from hunger and fear. On the 4th day, they began beating me with a stick. My husband held me down while his father hit me. The pain was worse than anything I had ever felt. They said this was my punishment for lying. Each blow felt like it would break my bones. I begged them to stop, but they would not listen. The beatings continued every few days after that. Sometimes it was for not cooking well enough. Sometimes it was for walking too slowly. But mostly it was because they still believed I was guilty. The bruises on my body never had time to heal. I learned to hide my pain behind a quiet face. Months passed in this terrible way of living. I became thin and weak from the constant fear. My hair began to fall out from the stress. The other women in the village whispered about me when I walked by. They believed the lies that my husband's family had spread. I felt like a ghost moving through my own life. I thought many times about running away from this place. But where could a young woman go alone in our country? My own family would not take me back in shame. The mountains around our village felt like prison walls. Every path led back to the same suffering. I was trapped, with no way out. Sometimes I would sit by the window and remember my childhood. I thought about climbing trees and laughing with my friends. Those memories felt like dreams from another person's life. The girl who had been happy seemed so far away now. I wondered if she had ever really existed at all. My husband never spoke to me with kindness anymore. He looked at me like I was something dirty and broken. At night, he would come to me roughly and without care. I learned to disappear inside my mind during those times. My body was there, but my spirit flew away to safer places. The other wives in the village avoided talking to me now. They were afraid that my shame would touch their own reputations. I had no friends and no one to confide in. The loneliness was sometimes worse than the physical pain. I felt like I was the only person suffering in the whole world. One day I saw my reflection in the water basin. The face looking back was not the girl I used to be. This face was marked by sadness and fear. The eyes had lost their brightness and hope. I realized that the person I had been was truly dead now. Only this broken shell remained to continue living. But somewhere deep inside, a small voice still whispered to me. It told me that I was not guilty of any crime. It reminded me of the innocent child who had fallen from a tree. This voice said, I deserved to be treated with kindness and respect. Sometimes this voice was the only thing that kept me alive. I began to understand that I was not alone in this suffering. There were other women who had faced similar cruelties. Our culture had created rules that hurt innocent people like me. The system was broken, not the women who suffered under it. This knowledge gave me a tiny bit of strength to continue. Now I write these words to tell my story truthfully. I want the world to know what happens to girls like me. We are not guilty of the crimes we are accused of. We are victims of traditions that value the wrong things. My pain has meaning if it helps others understand this injustice.